Some men don't realize what they had until it's too late. By then, what they lost has become someone else's treasure, and that someone else doesn't share. This is a story about pride, power, and the moment a coward learned what it means to touch something that belongs to a king. It started with a kick. It ended with a kingdom falling. The Crimson Lounge in Gangnam was the kind of place where Seoul's elite came to pretend they were celebrating success while actually nursing their insecurities with overpriced whiskey. Crystal chandeliers cast amber light over black leather booths. The music was low enough for conversation, expensive enough to remind you where you were. On a Friday night in November, the place was packed with executives, entrepreneurs, and people who wanted to be seen with executives and entrepreneurs. Min Seo-yeon sat in a corner booth with three colleagues from the Hanwha Gallery where she worked as a junior curator. She'd been at the gallery for 4 months now, and tonight was the first time her coworkers had invited her out. She wore a simple black silk dress with pearl earrings, her long hair loose around her shoulders, in a way she never would have dared during her previous life. She nursed a glass of white wine and listened to her colleagues talk about an upcoming exhibition, contributing when asked, but mostly just absorbing the normalcy of it all. This was freedom. Sitting with people who didn't control what she wore, what she said, how she sat. People who didn't remind her she was worthless every chance they got. "You're quiet tonight," said Jenna, one of the senior curators, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a sharp mind. "Everything okay?" Seo-yeon smiled. It came easier now than it had 6 months ago. "I'm fine, just taking it all in. Thank you for inviting me." "You're part of the team now," Jinna said warmly. "You've earned it. That Lee Hyun-soo exhibit you curated last month? Brilliant." The director was very impressed. Seo-yeon felt warmth spread through her chest. Praise. Recognition for her actual work, not for how well she'd played the role of decorative wife. "Thank you. That means a lot." She took a sip of wine, and that's when she saw him. Park Dong-min, her ex-husband. He stood near the bar with 3 other men, all of them loud with the particular obnoxiousness of drunk businessmen who thought the world owed them attention. Dong-min looked the same as he had 6 months ago when she'd signed the divorce papers. Same expensive suit wearing him rather than the other way around. Same air of unearned superiority. Same weak chin hidden behind aggressive bravado. Seo-yeon's hand tightened on her wine glass. She'd known she might run into him eventually. Seoul was a big city, but their circles, or rather, the circles he'd forced her into and she'd recently entered on her own merit, overlapped. She'd prepared herself for this. Told herself she was different now. Stronger. Protected. But seeing him still made her feel like she was 23 again. Naive and believing his promises that he'd take care of her. "Seo-yeon?" Jinna's voice cut through her thoughts. "You look pale. Do you know those men?" Before Seo-yeon could answer, Dongmin's eyes swept the room and landed on her. She watched his expression change. Surprise first, then confusion, then something ugly, a possessive anger that she recognized from their marriage. How dare she be here? How dare she look happy? How dare she exist in his world without his permission? He said something to his friends and started walking toward her table. Every instinct told Seo-yeon to run. 4 years of marriage had conditioned her to make herself small, to disappear when he was in this mood, but she'd spent 6 months learning to stand still, learning that she had a right to exist in spaces, learning that his anger was his problem, not hers. So she sat there, back straight, and waited. Dongmin reached their table and smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Seo-yeon, what a surprise." His voice was loud enough that nearby tables turned to look. He wanted an audience. "Dongmin," she kept her voice neutral, polite. "Hello. You're looking well." His eyes traveled over her dress, her hair, her jewelry in a way that made her skin crawl. "Very well. New dress? New earrings? I thought you left the marriage with nothing. Where did you get the money for all this?" The implication was clear and disgusting. Jinna straightened in her seat. Excuse me, but we're having a private conversation here. Dongmin ignored her, his attention fixed on Seo-yeon. Are you going to introduce me to your friends? Or are you ashamed of your past? Seo-yeon felt her colleague's curious eyes on her. She took a breath. These are my co-workers from Hanwha Gallery. We're celebrating a successful exhibition. If you'll excuse us, Hanwha Gallery? Dongmin laughed, sharp and mean. They hired you? As what, a receptionist? As a curator. Seo-yeon's voice was quiet but firm. A curator. He said it like it was a joke. Let me guess, you told them you had a degree in art history. You didn't mention that I'm the one who paid for that degree. That without me, you'd still be nobody. You didn't mention that I supported you for 4 years, while you contributed nothing. Heat flooded Seo-yeon's face, but it wasn't shame. It was anger. Pure, clean anger that she'd spent 4 years swallowing. You didn't support me, she said quietly. You controlled me. There's a difference. Dongmin's expression darkened. Controlled you? I gave you everything. A home, money, status, and you threw it away because what? You wanted to find yourself? He made air quotes around the last 2 words. You wanted independence? Look at you now, working some entry-level job, wearing knockoff pearls, pretending you're somebody. Jinna stood up. That's enough. You need to leave. I'm talking to my wife, Dongmin snapped. Ex-wife, Seo-yeon corrected. And you're drunk. Please leave. Don't tell me what to do. His hand shot out and grabbed her wrist, yanking her to her feet. You don't get to tell me anything. You don't get to walk away from me and then act like you're better than me. You're nothing without me. Nothing. Seo-yeon tried to pull her wrist free, but his grip tightened painfully. Around them, people were staring now, some filming on their phones. Jinna was shouting at him to let go. The bouncer was pushing through the crowd. Let go of me, Seo-yeon said, her voice shaking now, not with fear but with rage. You have no right to touch me. I have every right. Dongmin pulled her closer, his breath reeking of whiskey. You're still my wife in the eyes of everyone who matters. You'll always be the woman I threw away. Do you really think anyone will ever want you the way I did? Do you think anyone will ever? I said let her go. The voice came from behind Dongmin. It was quiet, controlled, and somehow more terrifying than if it had been shouted. Dongmin spun around, dragging Seo-yeon with him. A man stood there, tall, dressed in all black, with a face that looked like it had been carved from stone and eyes that held absolutely no warmth. He didn't look angry. He looked like anger was beneath him, like Dongmin was beneath him. Like everything in this room existed on a level he observed from somewhere far above. Seo-yeon's heart stopped. Jae-hyun, her husband. She hadn't known he was here. They'd arrived separately. She with her co-workers, him supposedly at a business dinner across town. But looking at him now, at the controlled fury in his eyes, she realized he'd been here the whole time. Watching, waiting, protecting. Who the hell are you? Dongmin demanded, trying to sound authoritative but failing. There was something about the man in black that made even drunk bravado falter. Jae-hyun's eyes flicked to where Dongmin's hand gripped Seo-yeon's wrist. You're touching my wife. The room went silent. Dongmin laughed, but it sounded uncertain now. Your wife? What are you talking about? This is my wife, my ex-wife. Who are you? Her new boyfriend? Did she tell you about me? Did she tell you I paid for everything she has? Let her go, Jae-hyun repeated. I won't ask again. There was something in his voice that made people instinctively step back. The bouncer who'd been approaching stopped. The room seemed to hold its breath. Dongmin, drunk and stupid, tightened his grip on Seo-yeon's wrist. Or what? You'll do something? Do you know who I am? I'm an executive at Han Pharmaceuticals. My family has connections. You can't just... Jae-hyun moved. One moment he was 3 feet away. The next his hand was wrapped around Dongmin's wrist, and Dongmin was making a sound somewhere between a gasp and a whimper. Jae-hyun applied just enough pressure that Dongmin's fingers spasmed open, releasing Seo-yeon. Jae-hyun pulled Seo-yeon gently but firmly behind him, positioning himself between her and Dongmin. "You put your hands on her," Jae-hyun said quietly. "In public, in front of witnesses, in front of cameras." He gestured to the phone still recording. "That was your first mistake." Dongmin cradled his wrist, his face red with humiliation and alcohol. "You can't just assault me. I'll call the police. I'll sue you. You'll what?" Jae-hyun's voice was so cold it could frost glass. "Call the police? Please do. I'm sure they'll be very interested in the assault charge against you for grabbing my wife without her consent. The witnesses will corroborate that. The video will show it clearly." "She's not your wife," Dongmin spat. "She's mine. I mean, she was mine. She's nobody's. She's..." Jae-hyun pulled something from his jacket pocket. A marriage certificate. He held it up just long enough for Dongmin to see the official seal, the signatures, the date from 2 months ago. "Min Seo-yeon became Kang Seo-yeon 2 months ago," Jae-hyun said. "She's my wife. Legally, officially, and in every way that matters. You're her past, a past she had the wisdom to leave behind. And you just put your hands on her in front of me." He stepped closer to Dongmin, close enough that he had to look down to meet his eyes. "Do you understand what you've done?" Dongmin tried to hold his ground, but there was fear creeping into his expression now. Some animal part of his brain was finally recognizing what the rest of him was too drunk and stupid to grasp. This wasn't a rival boyfriend. This wasn't someone he could intimidate or dismiss. This was a predator. "I didn't know," Dongmin said, his voice losing its bluster. "I didn't know she remarried. She didn't tell anyone. How was I supposed to—" "You put your hands on a woman who told you to stop," Jae-hyun interrupted. "Whether she's married to me or anyone else is irrelevant to the fact that you committed assault. But she is married to me, which makes this personal." He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice so only Dongmin could hear. But in the silence of the room, Seo-yeon heard it too. "You have 48 hours to get your affairs in order. After that, your life as you know it ends." Jae-hyun straightened, turned to Seo-yeon and offered his hand. "Let's go home." Seo-yeon, still processing what had just happened, took his hand. It was warm and steady and completely calm, as if he hadn't just threatened to destroy a man's life in a crowded bar. As they walked toward the exit, Dongmin found his voice again. "You can't do this. You can't just threaten me. I'll go to the police. I'll tell them you threatened me. Jae-hyun paused at the door and looked back over his shoulder. "My name is Kang Jae-hyun. Look it up when you sober up. Then decide if you really want to go to the police." They left. Behind them, someone in the crowd whispered the name. Then another person. Then phones were being pulled out. Searches being conducted. And as the results came back, the color drained from Dongmin's face. Kang Jae-hyun, head of the Kang family, the Ice King of Gangnam, one of the most powerful men in Seoul's underworld, and Dongmin had just put his hands on his wife. The car ride home was silent. Jae-hyun drove his black Mercedes through the streets of Gangnam with the same controlled precision he did everything. His hands were steady on the wheel, his expression unreadable. He'd removed his jacket and rolled up his sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and a tattoo on his left wrist that Seo-yeon had only glimpsed a few times. 3 characters in Chinese script that she'd never asked about. Seo-yeon sat in the passenger seat, her wrist still aching where Dongmin had grabbed her. She rubbed it absently, watching the city lights blur past the window. Her mind was racing, trying to process what had just happened. Jae-hyun had called her his wife in public. He'd shown their marriage certificate to Dongmin, to the whole bar, to anyone recording on their phones. They'd kept it quiet for 2 months, a practical arrangement that existed on paper and in the private space of his penthouse. Now, it was public. Now, people knew. Now, Dongmin knew. And the way Jae-hyun had looked at him, the promise in his voice, 48 hours to get your affairs in order. "Are you all right?" Jae-hyun's voice pulled her from her thoughts. His eyes were still on the road, but she could feel his attention on her. "I'm fine," she said automatically. Then, more honestly, "My wrist hurts." His jaw tightened. "I should have broken his hand." "Jae-hyun, he touched you, in front of everyone. He humiliated you." His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "I should have done more than threaten him." Seo-yeon looked at her husband, and it still felt strange to call him that, even in her thoughts. They'd been married for 2 months, but they barely knew each other. He'd proposed out of nowhere 4 months after her grandmother's funeral, told her he could protect her, provide for her, give her the security and freedom she'd lost in her divorce. It was a business arrangement, he'd said, practical. She would be his wife in name, gain his protection and resources, and in return she would simply allow him to take care of her. No love, no romance, no expectations beyond the legal contract. She'd agreed because she was tired of being afraid, tired of looking over her shoulder, wondering if Dongmin would show up at her tiny apartment. Tired of counting every one, of choosing between food and electricity, of feeling like she was one mistake away from losing everything again. Jae-hyun had offered her a cage, but it was a golden cage with an open door. She could leave whenever she wanted. He'd made that clear. She just hadn't wanted to yet. "What did you mean," she asked quietly, "when you said he has 48 hours? Jae-hyun was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I meant what I said. He has 2 days to settle anything he doesn't want to lose. After that, I'm taking everything." "Taking what?" "Everything he has. His job, his money, his reputation, his freedom." He said it calmly, like he was listing items on a grocery list. "He put his hands on you. There are consequences for that." Seo-yeon felt a chill run down her spine. Not fear of Jae-hyun, but understanding of what he was. She'd known when she married him that he wasn't a normal businessman. The penthouse, the guards, the way people moved out of his way, the careful way he never quite explained what he did for a living. She'd known, but knowing abstractly and seeing it in action were different things. "Is that legal?" she asked, then almost laughed at the absurdity of the question. Jae-hyun's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Does it matter?" "I suppose not." She looked down at her hands. He was always like that, controlling, cruel when he didn't get his way. "I just never thought I'd see him again." "Tell me about it," Jae-hyun said. "Your marriage to him. Tell me what he did." Seo-yeon had never told him the full story. He'd asked her once, early on, and she'd given him the basic facts. Married at 23, divorced at 27. He hadn't pushed for more. But now, driving through the dark with the city lights creating a cocoon of privacy, she found herself wanting to tell him. "I met Dongmin when I was 22, she began. "I was in my last year at Seoul National University, studying art history. He was 28, already working at his family's pharmaceutical company. We met at a gallery opening. He seemed sophisticated, successful. He paid attention to me in a way no one had before." She paused, remembering the girl she'd been. So naive, so desperate to be loved. My parents were thrilled when he proposed after 6 months. They'd never understood my degree, thought art was frivolous. But Dongmin came from money, from a good family. They pushed me to say yes, told me I'd never get a better offer. She smiled bitterly. They were right, in a way. I didn't get a better offer. I got the only offer. Because after I married him, I stopped existing as a person. Jae-hyun said nothing, but his attention was absolute. She could feel him listening with every part of him. "The first year was subtle," Seo-yeon continued. "He didn't like my friends, thought they were bad influences. He preferred if I stayed home. When I graduated and wanted to work at a gallery, he said there was no need. He made enough money for both of us. Why would I want to work? Didn't I trust him to provide for me?" Her throat tightened with remembered frustration. By the second year, I wasn't allowed to leave the apartment without telling him where I was going. He checked my phone. He chose my clothes. He told me what to eat, how to style my hair, when to smile, when to speak. At dinner parties with his colleagues, I was decoration, a pretty quiet wife who made him look successful. And if you didn't comply? Jae-hyun's voice was dangerously soft. He never hit me, Seo-yeon said quickly, then hated herself for the instinct to defend him. But he didn't need to. He had other ways, silent treatment for days, destroying things I loved. Once he threw away every book I owned because I'd spent an afternoon reading instead of cooking his dinner. He controlled all the money, so I had nothing of my own, nowhere to go. She took a shaky breath. The worst part was how he made me feel like I deserved it, like I was being unreasonable for wanting independence, like I was selfish for wanting to use my degree, to have friends, to exist outside of being his wife. He convinced me I was worthless, that no one else would ever want me, that I should be grateful he put up with me. How did you leave? Jae-hyun asked. Seo-yeon looked out the window, remembering that day a year ago. My grandmother got sick. She was the only family I had who truly loved me. Dongmin didn't want me to visit her in the hospital. Said she was old. She'd die soon anyway. Why waste time on her? I went anyway. It was the first time I directly disobeyed him in 4 years. She smiled slightly at the memory. He was furious. Told me if I walked out that door to see her, I shouldn't come back. So I didn't. I stayed with my grandmother for her last 2 months, slept in a chair next to her hospital bed, had nothing but the clothes I was wearing and my ID card, and you know what? I was happier in that hospital than I'd been in 4 years of marriage. When she died, I signed the divorce papers Dongmin's lawyer brought to the hospital. There was a prenup, so I got nothing. No money, no apartment, no settlement. Just my freedom. She looked at Jae-hyun. That was 8 months ago. I've been rebuilding ever since. They'd arrived at the penthouse. Jae-hyun pulled into his private garage and turned off the engine, but made no move to get out. He sat there, hands still on the wheel, processing what she'd told him. The funeral, he finally said. Your grandmother's funeral. That's where I met you. Yes. You were alone. My parents didn't come. Dongmin certainly didn't. It was just me, the priest, and a few of her friends from her building. Seo-yeon remembered the rain, the small gathering, the overwhelming sense of being utterly alone in the world. You were there. I thought you were one of her friends. You never said otherwise. I wasn't there for your grandmother, Jae-hyun admitted. I was there to pay respects to a business associate being buried in the same cemetery. I saw you from across the grounds, watched you stand in the rain for an hour after everyone else had left. You didn't cry, you just stood there, so alone, so dignified. Something about it. He paused. I couldn't walk away. Seo-yeon remembered that conversation. A stranger in an expensive black suit, offering his umbrella. Kind eyes that had asked her nothing but offered her everything in a single moment of pure human compassion. You asked if I was all right, she said softly. No one had asked me that in years. You said you were fine. Jae-hyun turned to look at her. But you weren't. I could see it. No, I wasn't. She met his eyes. I was completely alone. No family, no money, no home. I was living in a hostel and applying for jobs with a 4-year gap in my resume that I couldn't explain. I was surviving, but I wasn't fine. I had you investigated, Jae-hyun said bluntly. After the funeral, I needed to know if you were safe. When I found out about your ex-husband, about the abuse, about your situation, his jaw clenched. I wanted to kill him then. I still do. Why didn't you? Because it wasn't my place. You weren't mine to protect. He looked away. Not yet. Seo-yeon's heart beat faster. You arranged my job at the gallery, didn't you? 4 months ago, when I got that call out of nowhere. The director owed me a favor. I told him about a brilliant art history graduate who deserved a chance. You got the job on your own merit. I just opened the door. And the apartment I'm renting, the one with rent I can actually afford in a safe neighborhood. The building owner is associated with my organization. I suggested a reasonable rate for a quality tenant. The hospital bills for my grandmother that mysteriously got reduced. Jae-hyun said nothing, which was answer enough. Seo-yeon sat back in her seat, processing this. For 4 months before he'd even proposed to her, Jae-hyun had been watching over her, protecting her, smoothing her path without her knowledge. Why? She asked. You didn't know me. We talked for 20 minutes at a funeral. Why would you do all that for a stranger? Jae-hyun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was lower than she'd ever heard it. Because when I was 17, my father used to beat my mother. He was a powerful man, feared by everyone in our world. She was just his wife. She had nowhere to go, no way to leave, no one to protect her. I was too young, too weak to stop him. I could only watch. He gripped the steering wheel tighter. She died when I was 19. The official story was a car accident. The truth was she'd finally tried to leave, and he made sure she couldn't, made it look like an accident. And I did nothing because I wasn't strong enough yet. Seo-yeon's breath caught. It took me 9 years to build enough power to take over the family from him. By the time I did, by the time I was strong enough to protect her, she was already gone. He looked at Seo-yeon, and his eyes held a grief so deep it made her chest ache. I saw you standing alone at that funeral, and I saw her. I saw a woman who'd survived something terrible and was still standing, still dignified. Still kind enough to thank a stranger for his umbrella. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand. I couldn't save her, but I could save you. I could make sure you never had to be afraid again. Never had to be alone again. Never had to stand in the rain at a funeral with no one who cared. His thumb brushed over the bruise forming on her wrist, where Dongmin had grabbed her. So I did. I will. For as long as you'll let me. Seo-yeon felt tears prick her eyes. This man, this dangerous, powerful man, had married her not out of obligation or desire for control, but because he'd seen in her the ghost of someone he'd failed to protect. Jae-hyun, she whispered, I'm not your mother. You don't have to save me to forgive yourself for not saving her. I know. His hand tightened on hers, but I want to anyway. Is that selfish? Maybe. She smiled through her tears. But I said yes to your proposal, so maybe I'm selfish too. I wanted to be protected. I wanted to feel safe. I wanted someone strong enough that I'd never have to be afraid again. And now? How do you feel now? Seo-yeon thought about the past 2 months, living in his penthouse, in her own room, with her own space, having security guards who nodded respectfully when she came and went, having a bank account with enough money that she didn't count every purchase, having someone ask her every morning how she slept, what she wanted for breakfast, if she needed anything, having someone who looked at her like she mattered. Safe, she said honestly. I feel safe, and I feel seen. You look at me like I'm a person, not a possession. That's more than Dongmin ever gave me. You are a person, Jae-hyun said firmly. You're brilliant and strong, and you survived 4 years of hell with your kindness intact. You're not a possession. You're not an obligation. You're my wife, and that means something to me. What does it mean? He was quiet, seeming to struggle with words. Finally, it means you're mine to protect, mine to care for, mine to... He trailed off. I'm not good at this, at talking about feelings. I've spent my whole life being the Ice King, showing no weakness, trusting no one. But with you, I want to be different. I want to be someone worthy of your trust. Seo-yeon squeezed his hand. You already are. You've been protecting me for months without asking for anything in return. You proposed a marriage that gave me all the benefits and you only the responsibility. You gave me my own room, my own space, my own freedom. You've never tried to control me or change me. You just cared. I'll always care. Jae-hyun brought her hand to his lips and kissed her bruised wrist gently. And your ex-husband will pay for touching you. That's a promise. Seo-yeon believed him. They went inside. The penthouse was exactly as they'd left it that morning. Pristine, expensive, and somehow still managing to feel like a home rather than a showroom. Jae-hyun had lived here for 5 years, and while the furniture was minimalist and masculine, there were small touches that revealed the man beneath the reputation. Books on Korean history, a collection of vintage watches, photographs of his mother in simple frames. And now, after 2 months, there were touches of Seo-yeon too. Her books on the shelf, her favorite tea in the kitchen, her art prints on the wall that Jae-hyun had insisted she hang anywhere she wanted. 2 lives slowly merging. Are you hungry? Jae-hyun asked, shrugging off his jacket. I can order something. I'm fine. I just want to shower and process everything that happened tonight. Seo-yeon headed toward her bedroom, then paused. Jae-hyun? Yes? Thank you for being there tonight. For protecting me. Always, he said simply. Seo-yeon showered, letting the hot water wash away the feeling of Dongmin's hand on her wrist, his voice in her ear, his presence in her space. She'd spent 6 months trying to forget him, to move past what he'd done to her. And in 30 seconds at that bar, he'd tried to drag her back into the person he'd made her. Small, scared, worthless. But Jae-hyun had stopped him, had stood between them, had claimed her in front of everyone, had called her his wife. She dried off and put on comfortable clothes, then made her way to the living room. Jae-hyun was standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the city, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He'd changed into black pants and a simple black t-shirt. Without the suit jacket and the armor of formality, he looked younger, more human. Can't sleep? She asked. Thinking, he said, about tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? He took a sip of whiskey. Tomorrow, Park Dong-min wakes up and realizes his life is over. And I want to make sure I do it right. Thoroughly. Permanently. There was no heat in his voice, no anger, just cold calculation. And somehow that was more terrifying. Seo-yeon should have been disturbed, should have been afraid of what her husband was capable of. But all she felt was a savage satisfaction that Dong-min would finally face consequences for his actions. Will you tell me what you're going to do? She asked. Jae-hyun looked at her, surprised. You want to know? He hurt me for 4 years. He tried to hurt me again tonight. Yes, I want to know how you're going to destroy him. She moved to stand beside him at the window. Is that wrong? No. Jae-hyun's expression softened slightly. It's honest. I appreciate that. He gestured for her to sit on the couch, and he sat beside her, close but not touching, always careful of her space. Park Dong-min works as an executive at Han Pharmaceuticals, Jae-hyun began. His position there is primarily due to his family connections. His actual work performance is mediocre at best. He's been embezzling small amounts from departmental budgets for 3 years. Nothing major, just enough to fund his lifestyle beyond his salary. The company hasn't noticed because the amounts are small and he's been clever about hiding it in quarterly reports. How do you know all this? Seo-yeon asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted the answer. I have people everywhere. After I learned about your marriage to him, I had him investigated thoroughly, just in case. Jae-hyun swirled his whiskey. Tomorrow morning, an anonymous tip will be sent to Han Pharmaceuticals' board of directors. Complete documentation of his embezzlement. Records, bank statements, everything they need for a criminal investigation. He'll be fired. He'll be arrested. Embezzlement from a company that size is a serious crime. He'll face years in prison. Jae-hyun's voice remained calm. But that's just the beginning. Seo-yeon listened as Jae-hyun laid out his plan with the precision of a general planning a battle. Dong-min's new wife came from a moderately wealthy family who'd invested in several of his business ventures. those ventures would suddenly face complications, permits delayed, investors pulling out, lawsuits from supposedly dissatisfied customers. His social reputation would crumble as old colleagues suddenly remembered instances of inappropriate behavior, excessive drinking, and poor judgment. His family, embarrassed by the scandal, would distance themselves. Within a week, Park Dong-min would lose his job, his freedom, his money, his marriage, and his reputation. And his family? Seo-yeon asked. Won't they protect him? His family will throw him away to save themselves. Jae-hyun set down his glass. Powerful families survive by cutting off diseased branches. Once the evidence of embezzlement is public, once the arrests are made, they'll issue a statement condemning his actions and removing him from all family business interests. They'll pay restitution to avoid scandal, and Dong-min will face everything alone. Good, Seo-yeon said quietly. Then, more firmly, good. He deserves it. Jae-hyun looked at her with something like approval. You're not going to tell me I'm going too far? That revenge is wrong? Is it revenge if it's just revealing the truth about what he's done? You're not framing him. He actually committed these crimes. You're just making sure he faces consequences. Seo-yeon met his eyes. He spent 4 years convincing me I deserved to be controlled and diminished. I spent 6 months learning that I didn't. Now he gets to learn that actions have consequences. I'm not sorry about that. You're stronger than you know, Jae-hyun said softly. I'm learning to be. She smiled slightly. I have a good teacher. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, looking out at the city. Seoul glittered below them, millions of lives intersecting, millions of stories unfolding. And in this penthouse, 2 damaged people were slowly learning to trust each other. Jae-hyun, Seo-yeon said eventually, when you told Dong-min I was your wife, when you showed him the marriage certificate, you made it public. People will know now. They'll talk. Your business associates, my coworkers, everyone. I know. Does that complicate things for you? Your work? Your position? No. He turned to face her. It clarifies things. Now, everyone knows you're under my protection. No one will touch you. No one will threaten you. You're the wife of Kang Jae-hyun. That means something in this city. What does it mean? His eyes were intense. It means you're untouchable. It means anyone who harms you answers to me. It means you can walk through Seoul without fear because my name protects you. He paused. It also means you'll be watched, gossiped about, judged. People will wonder why I married you, what you did to catch my attention, whether you're worthy of the position. I'm sorry for that. Seo-yeon considered this. She'd been invisible for 4 years, then alone for 6 months. Being visible, being talked about, it should have scared her, but somehow it didn't. I can handle gossip, she said. I survived Dong-min. I can survive people talking. You won't have to survive anything alone anymore, Jae-hyun promised. That's what this means. You have me now, completely. The weight of those words hung in the air between them. This marriage had started as a practical arrangement, a contract for mutual benefit. But sitting here, after everything that had happened tonight, Seo-yeon realized it had become something more. Something real. We should sleep, Jae-hyun said, standing. Tomorrow will be a long day. Dong-min will realize what's happening and he'll likely try to contact you. Don't answer. Let me handle it. All right. Seo-yeon stood as well. Good night, Jae-hyun. Good night, Seo-yeon. He hesitated, then added, Your wrist. Put ice on it before bed. And if it still hurts tomorrow, I'm taking you to a doctor. It's just a bruise. It's an injury he gave you. I want to make sure you're all right. His expression softened. Please. The concern in his voice made her chest warm. Okay. I will. She went to her room, iced her wrist as instructed, and lay in bed staring at the ceiling. In the morning, Dongmin's life would begin to fall apart. Justice, delivered by a man who'd married her to protect her. a man who was slowly becoming more than just a protector. Seo-yeon touched the ring on her left hand, a simple platinum band that Jae-hyun had given her the day they married. She'd worn it for 2 months without really thinking about what it meant. Now she did. She was Kang Jae-hyun, wife of the Ice King of Gangnam, protected, provided for, and slowly, carefully, beginning to be loved. Tomorrow, her ex-husband would learn what it meant to cross a king. Morning came with the kind of brutal efficiency that Jae-hyun was famous for. Seo-yeon woke to sunlight streaming through her bedroom window and the smell of coffee. She checked her phone out of habit and found 17 missed calls from an unknown number, 12 text messages from the same number, and 3 voicemails. She didn't need to check to know they were from Dongmin. She deleted them all without listening. When she emerged from her room, Jae-hyun was already dressed in a charcoal suit, sitting at the dining table with his laptop open and a cup of coffee in hand. He looked up when she entered, his eyes immediately going to her wrist. "How does it feel?" "Better, just a little sore." She poured herself coffee from the French press he'd already prepared. "You're up early." "I had calls to make." He closed the laptop. "It's done." The information was sent to Han Pharmaceuticals board at 7 this morning. By now, they've called an emergency meeting. Dongmin will be called in within the hour. Seo-yeon sat down across from him, cradling her coffee cup. "That fast?" "I don't believe in waiting when action is required." Jae-hyun's expression was calm, almost pleasant, which somehow made him more dangerous. By lunch, he'll be suspended pending investigation. By tomorrow, he'll be formally charged with embezzlement. By next week, he'll be in custody. "And you're sure the evidence will hold up?" "It's his own records, his own transactions, his own crimes." Jae-hyun took a sip of coffee. "I'm not manufacturing anything. I'm simply making sure the right people see what he's actually done. The law will handle the rest." Seo-yeon should have felt something. Guilt. Perhaps, or uncertainty about the magnitude of what they were doing. But all she felt was a quiet satisfaction. Dongmin had escaped consequences for so long, had hurt her without ever facing justice. Now he would. "He's been calling me," she said, "since 6 this morning." Jae-hyun's jaw tightened. "Block the number." "I already deleted everything without reading it." She met his eyes. "I don't want to hear anything he has to say. Not anymore." "Good." He reached across the table and took her hand, his thumb brushing over the faint bruise on her wrist. "He'll likely try to contact you other ways. Through your work, through mutual acquaintances, possibly even showing up in person. If he does, you call me immediately. Don't engage with him. Don't listen to him. Just call me." "You think he'll come after me again?" "I think he's about to lose everything, and desperate men do desperate things." Jae-hyun's voice was gentle but firm. "I've assigned additional security. There will be someone watching the gallery, your routes to and from work, this building. You won't see them, but they're there." A month ago, Seo-yeon might have bristled at this, might have seen it as control, as Dongmin's surveillance dressed up in protective language. But she knew the difference now. Jae-hyun's protection came with freedom. She could still go where she wanted, do what she wanted, live her life. He just made sure she was safe while doing it. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You don't need to thank me for protecting what's mine." He squeezed her hand gently, then released it. "Now, eat breakfast. You have work today, and I suspect your colleagues will have questions after last night." He was right. By the time Seo-yeon arrived at the gallery at 10, the story had already spread. She walked in to find Jinna and 2 other curators huddled around a phone, clearly watching something. They looked up guiltily when she entered. "Seo-yeon," Jinna said quickly. We weren't gossiping, we were just watching the video from last night," Seo-yeon finished. She set down her bag calmly. "It's fine. I know it's out there." Someone had posted the confrontation to social media. Of course they had. The video showed Dongmin grabbing her, showed her trying to pull away, showed Jae-hyun appearing and forcing Dongmin to release her, showed the marriage certificate being displayed, showed the quiet threat in Jae-hyun's voice when he said 48 hours. The video had 3 million views. Is it true? Asked Minji, the youngest curator, her eyes wide. Are you really married to Kang Jae-hyun? Seo-yeon held up her left hand, showing the platinum band she'd been wearing for 2 months, that no one had really noticed. Yes, for 2 months now. But Kang Jae-hyun, Minji looked like she didn't know whether to be impressed or terrified. Everyone knows who he is, what he does. And you're married to him? I am. Jinna studied her face carefully. Are you safe? Are you happy? The concern in her voice was genuine, and Seo-yeon appreciated it. Jinna was asking what everyone was probably thinking. Had Seo-yeon escaped one controlling man only to end up with someone far more dangerous? I'm safe, Seo-yeon said firmly. And yes, I'm happy. Jae-hyun is nothing like my ex-husband. He's kind to me. He respects me. He protects me without controlling me. She met Jinna's eyes. I know what he is. I knew when I married him. But he's never once made me feel afraid, or small or worthless. That's more than I can say for my first marriage. Jinna nodded slowly. Then I'm happy for you, and I'm glad someone finally put that bastard in his place last night. The way he grabbed you, she shook her head. I was about to hit him myself before your husband intervened. Thank you for trying to help. That's what colleagues do. Jinna smiled. Now, shall we get to work? We have the Park Seo-jun installation to finalize, and I believe you had some ideas about the lighting? Seo-yeon felt a rush of gratitude. Jinna was giving her normalcy, treating her the same as always, not making her marriage into a bigger thing than it needed to be at work. They spent the morning working on the installation, and Seo-yeon lost herself in the familiar rhythm of curation. Adjusting lights, considering sightlines, thinking about how viewers would move through the space. This was what she loved. This was what Dongmin had stolen from her for 4 years, and what Jae-hyun had helped her reclaim. At noon, her phone buzzed. A text from Jae-hyun. It's happening, he's been called in. Seo-yeon stepped into her small office and called him. Where are you? She asked. At my office, watching it unfold. She could hear the satisfaction in his voice. He arrived at Han Pharmaceuticals 20 minutes ago. He's been in the boardroom for 15 minutes. They're showing him the evidence now. How do you know all this? I have someone inside, a secretary who keeps me informed. Jae-hyun paused. Do you want to know the details? Or would you rather I spare you? Seo-yeon thought about it. Part of her wanted to know everything, wanted to watch Dongmin's world crumble in real time, but another part just wanted it to be over, wanted to move on with her life without thinking about him anymore. Just tell me when it's finished, she said finally. All right. His voice softened. How's work? Good. Jinna is being wonderful. The others are curious but respectful. She paused. The video has 3 million views. I know. I've been monitoring it. Most of the comments are supportive of you. People saw him grab you, saw you try to get away. Public opinion is on your side. And your side? Jae-hyun laughed, a rare sound. People are divided. Some think I'm romantic for defending my wife. Others think I'm terrifying for the threat. Both are accurate. Seo-yeon found herself smiling. Which do you prefer? I prefer that you're safe and he's facing consequences. Everything else is just noise. He paused. I have to go. Call me if you need anything. And Seo-yeon? Yes? I'm proud of you. Going to work today, facing everyone, handling this with dignity. You're stronger than you know. The words warmed her from the inside out. Thank you, Jae-hyun. She went back to work, trying to focus on the installation. But part of her mind was elsewhere, wondering what was happening in that boardroom. whether Dongmin was denying everything or scrambling to explain. Whether he realized yet that this was only the beginning. At 2 in the afternoon, her phone rang. Unknown number, she didn't answer. It rang again immediately. Same number. On the third call, she answered, already knowing who it was. Seo-yeon? Dongmin's voice was panicked, desperate. Seo-yeon, please, you have to help me. They're saying I embezzled money. They have all these records and bank statements, and I don't know where they came from, but they're going to fire me. They're talking about pressing charges. You have to tell them this is a mistake. It's not a mistake, Seo-yeon said calmly. You did embezzle that money. You've been doing it for 3 years. How do you... He stopped. It was him. Your husband, Kang Jae-hyun. He did this. He manufactured evidence against me because of last night. You have to tell them the truth. Tell them he's setting me up. He's not setting you up. He's just making sure people see what you actually did. Seo-yeon kept her voice level. You committed crimes, Dongmin. You're facing consequences, that's all. Consequences? Seo-yeon, they're going to arrest me. I could go to prison. You can't let this happen. Talk to your husband. Tell him to call it off. Tell him I'm sorry for last night. I was drunk. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please. And there it was. The begging, the pleading, the same manipulation he'd used during their marriage whenever he'd gone too far. Apologize. Promise to do better. Make her feel guilty for being upset. It didn't work anymore. You did mean to hurt me, Seo-yeon said quietly. You always meant to hurt me. For 4 years, you hurt me every single day. You controlled me, diminished me, made me feel worthless. And when I finally escaped, when I finally built a life without you, you saw me happy and tried to destroy that too. You grabbed me in public. You humiliated me. You tried to make me small again. I was drunk. You were yourself. Drunk just made you more honest about who you are. She took a breath. You're facing justice now, Dongmin. Real consequences for the things you've done, and I'm not going to save you from them. Seo-yeon, please, don't call me again. Don't text me. Don't come near me. If you do, my husband will know, and what's happening to you now will seem merciful in comparison. She paused. Goodbye, Dongmin. She hung up. Her hands were shaking, but not with fear. With adrenaline, with the rush of finally standing up to him completely, of not caving to his manipulation, of choosing herself over his needs. She called Jae-hyun. He called me, she said when he answered. I know. I was listening. There was a pause. The security on your phone includes monitoring for threats. I heard the entire conversation. And you were perfect, strong, clear, uncompromising. She could hear the pride in his voice. I'm glad you didn't let him manipulate you. He tried the same tactics he always used, apologizing, making excuses, making me responsible for fixing his problems. Seo-yeon sat down in her office chair. It didn't work this time. It will never work again, Jae-hyun said firmly. You're not that person anymore. You're not the woman he controlled. You're someone different now. Because of you. Because of yourself. I just gave you the space to become who you always were underneath. He paused. The board has officially suspended him. He's been escorted from the building. Police will be involved by end of day. It's done. Seo-yeon closed her eyes, letting the words sink in. Good. There's more. His new wife's family heard about the scandal. They're already distancing themselves, talking to lawyers about protecting their investments in his ventures. His own family released a statement condemning his actions. Jae-hyun's voice was clinical, reporting facts. Within 24 hours, he'll have lost his job, his reputation, his wife's family support, and his own family's protection. The arrest will come tomorrow morning. And then he faces trial. With the evidence we have, he'll be convicted. 3 to 5 years in prison, most likely. Jae-hyun paused. Is that enough for you? Or do you want more? Seo-yeon thought about it. Dongmin in prison, his life destroyed, his reputation ruined, everything he'd valued, status, money, power, stripped away. It was more justice than she'd ever imagined getting. "It's enough," she said. "I don't need him to suffer forever. I just needed him to face consequences, to know that he can't treat people the way he treated me without something happening. Then it's done. After tomorrow, he'll be out of your life completely. A bad memory and nothing more." "Thank you, Jae-hyun." "You don't have to thank me. This is what husbands do. They protect their wives." He paused. "What time do you finish work?" 5. "I'll pick you up. We should talk about what happens next. Now that the marriage is public, there will be attention. Press, gossip, people wanting to meet you. I want to prepare you for that." "All right, I'll see you at 5. Seo-yeon ended the call and sat in her office for a moment, processing everything. In 24 hours, her life had changed completely. She'd gone from Jae-hyun's secret wife to his public wife. From someone invisible to someone everyone was talking about. From someone afraid of her ex-husband to someone watching him face justice. It should have been overwhelming. Instead, it felt like freedom. She went back to work, finishing the installation with Jinna. They worked in comfortable silence, adjusting lights and repositioning pieces until everything was perfect. At 4:30, Jinna stepped back and smiled. "Beautiful, Park Seo-jun is going to love it." "I hope so." Seo-yeon looked at the installation with satisfaction. "Thank you for your help today. And for being so understanding about everything. You're talented, you work hard, and you're kind. That's all that matters to me." Jinna touched her shoulder gently. "The rest is your private life. Though I admit, I'm curious about how you met Kang Jae-hyun. That's quite a story, I imagine." "It is." Seo-yeon smiled. "Maybe I'll tell you sometime." At 5, she gathered her things and went outside to find Jae-hyun's black Mercedes already waiting. The driver opened the door for her, but Jae-hyun himself was in the back seat. He'd loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves, looking slightly less formal than this morning. "Good day?" he asked as she slid in beside him. "Productive. We finished the installation." She settled into the leather seat. "How was yours?" "Satisfying. Watching someone face the consequences of their actions is always gratifying." He pulled out his phone and showed her a news article. "It's already hitting the media." The headline read, "Han Pharmaceuticals executive suspended amid embezzlement allegations." Below was Dongmin's professional photo, looking smug and self-important. "That was fast," Seo-yeon said. "The company wants to get ahead of the scandal. By releasing the information themselves and condemning his actions, they protect their own reputation." Jae-hyun scrolled through several other articles, all saying essentially the same thing. "By tomorrow, this will be everywhere. His arrest will be even bigger news." "And what about us, our marriage?" "That's what I wanted to talk to you about." Jae-hyun pocketed his phone as the car pulled into traffic. "The video from last night has made our marriage public knowledge. There will be interest in you now. Who you are, where you came from, why I married you. The press will dig into your background, your first marriage, everything." Seo-yeon felt a flutter of anxiety. "What do I do?" "Nothing. You don't owe anyone explanations or interviews. If reporters approach you, refer them to my people. If colleagues or acquaintances ask questions, answer only what you're comfortable sharing." He looked at her seriously. "I can protect you from a lot of things, Seo-yeon, but I can't protect you from gossip. People will talk. They'll speculate. Some will be cruel. Can you handle that?" She thought about the 4 years of Dongmin's cruelty, of his constant belittling, of his systematic destruction of her self-worth. If she could survive that, she could survive gossip. "I can handle it," she said firmly. "Good, because there's something else." Jae-hyun reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I gave you a wedding ring when we married, but it was simple, practical. Now that our marriage is public, I want you to have something better. Something that makes a statement. He opened the box to reveal a ring that made Seo-yeon's breath catch. A platinum band with a single perfect diamond, not ostentatiously large, but clearly expensive and exquisitely cut. It caught the light and threw it back in brilliant flashes. Jae-hyun, I can't. You can and you will. He took the simple platinum band from her finger and replaced it with the new ring. It fit perfectly. You're my wife. You wear my name. You should wear something that reflects that. Not for show, but for protection. When people see this ring, they'll know exactly who you belong to. I don't belong to anyone, Seo-yeon said, but her voice was soft, not argumentative. You're right. Poor phrasing. Jae-hyun smiled slightly. They'll know exactly who you're connected to, who protects you, who values you enough to give you something beautiful. Seo-yeon looked at the ring on her finger, watching how it caught the light. It's beautiful. Thank you. There's more. He pulled out another box, this one containing diamond stud earrings. And this? A third box with a delicate platinum bracelet. I want you to have nice things, Seo-yeon, not because you need them to be valuable, but because you deserve them. Because for 4 years, someone made you feel like you deserved nothing. I want to remind you every day that you deserve everything. Tears pricked her eyes. Jae-hyun, I'm not good with words, he said quietly. I never learned how to express emotions properly. My father didn't teach me tenderness, only power, so I show how I feel through actions, through protection, through gifts, through making sure you never want for anything. He touched her cheek gently. Let me take care of you, please. You already do, she whispered. Then let me do more. His thumb brushed away a tear that had escaped. You're crying. Did I upset you? No, these are happy tears. She smiled through them. I'm not used to someone being kind to me. It's overwhelming sometimes. Get used to it. This is your life now. He leaned back, giving her space to compose herself. We're having dinner at home tonight. I had the chef prepare your favorite, that seafood pasta you mentioned liking last week. You remembered that? I remember everything you say. He looked at her with an intensity that made her heart race. Everything you like, everything you want, everything that makes you smile. I pay attention, Seo-yeon, to you, always. The car pulled into the underground parking of the penthouse building. As they rode the elevator up, Seo-yeon looked at the ring on her finger, the weight of it both literal and symbolic. She was publicly Jae-hyun's wife now, connected to him in ways that everyone could see. It should have felt like a trap. Instead, it felt like coming home. Dinner was quiet and comfortable. Jae-hyun asked about her day, about the installation, about her colleagues. She asked about his work, the parts he could tell her anyway. He was always careful about what he shared, protecting her from the darker aspects of his business, but he told her enough that she felt included, trusted. After dinner, they sat on the couch together, closer than they usually did. Jae-hyun poured them both wine, and they looked out at the city glittering below. What happens now? Seo-yeon asked. After Dongmin is arrested, after the scandal dies down, what does our life look like? Whatever you want it to look like, Jae-hyun said. You keep working at the gallery if you enjoy it, or you open your own gallery if you prefer. You pursue your dreams, you live your life, and I make sure you're safe and supported while doing it. And us? What do we become? Jae-hyun was quiet for a moment. I told you when I proposed that this was a practical arrangement. Protection and provision, in exchange for allowing me to take care of you. No romantic expectations. I remember. I may have been lying. He turned to look at her. Or maybe I was lying to myself. Because from the moment I saw you at that funeral, I've thought about you every day. And these past 2 months, living with you, learning who you are, watching you rebuild yourself. I've realized this stopped being practical for me a long time ago. Seo-yeon's heart hammered in her chest. What are you saying? I'm saying I care about you, more than I should. Probably more than is wise, definitely more than I planned. He set down his wine glass. I'm saying that when I called you my wife last night, it wasn't just for protection. It was because that's how I think of you. Not as an arrangement, as my wife, my partner, someone I... He stopped, seemingly struggling with the words. Someone you what? Seo-yeon prompted softly. Someone I could love, he finished quietly. If you'd let me. If you wanted that. Seo-yeon looked at this dangerous, powerful man who'd spent months protecting her from the shadows, who'd given her everything and asked for nothing, who'd destroyed her ex-husband without hesitation, but treated her with infinite gentleness. I spent 4 years with someone who said he loved me, but treated me like property, she said slowly. You've never said you love me, but you treat me like I'm precious, like I matter, like my happiness is important. She took his hand. I think I prefer your version of love. Is that a yes? His voice was uncertain in a way she'd never heard before. To trying to make this real? To being married not just on paper, but in truth? I think we're already there, Seo-yeon said honestly. We just haven't admitted it yet. Jae-hyun's expression softened into something she'd never seen before. Pure, unguarded hope. Then can I kiss you? I've wanted to for 2 months, but I didn't want to push. Didn't want you to feel obligated. Seo-yeon leaned forward and kissed him, cutting off his uncertain rambling. It was gentle at first, tentative, 2 people learning each other. Then Jae-hyun's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone, and the kiss deepened. It was nothing like kissing Dongmin had been. That had always been about his needs, his desires. This was mutual exploration, shared vulnerability, 2 people choosing each other. When they finally pulled apart, Jae-hyun rested his forehead against hers. I'll be good to you, he promised. I'll never control you or diminish you or make you feel small. I'll protect you and support you and give you everything you need to be whoever you want to be. I swear it. I know. Seo-yeon smiled. That's why I'm here. That's why I said yes 2 months ago, and that's why I'm saying yes now. You've already shown me who you are, Jae-hyun. I trust you. They stayed like that for a long moment, foreheads touching, breathing the same air. Outside, Seoul continued its endless motion. But in this penthouse, 2 damaged people had found something neither had expected. A safe place to heal. A real marriage. A chance at happiness. Tomorrow, Dongmin would be arrested. The scandal would explode. The world would have opinions about their marriage. About her. About them. But tonight, in this moment, Seo-yeon didn't care about any of that. She was exactly where she was meant to be. Hello, dear viewers. The story doesn't end here. Do you want to know what happens to Park Dong-min? Will Jae-hyun's revenge be complete? What happens when Dong-min breaks free and comes after them? Type Part 2 in the comments below. Subscribe so you don't miss Part 2. Coming soon. The arrest, the desperation, the final confrontation. When a cornered man has nothing left to lose, he becomes the most dangerous.